Hey there, beautiful gardeners of golden seniors living. Have you ever stood in your garden looking around at all those old and used items cluttering up your shed, garage, or even your backyard? Now stop and think for a moment. What if those very things, the items you were about to toss, could actually become the stars of your garden? What if you could take those forgotten treasures and transform them into something extraordinary? Imagine turning those old cans, broken pots, or even worn-out shoes into stunning garden decor. Sounds wild, right? Well, let me tell you something exciting. Today, I'm going to show you how to give your garden a fresh, personalized touch using just a little creativity and a lot of recycling and upcycling. Now, I know you're probably thinking, how on earth can my old stuff make my garden look amazing? But let me assure you, upcycling isn't just about saving money, though that's a big bonus. It's about breathing new life into what would have otherwise been discarded and creating something that's as unique as your garden itself. Throughout this video, I'm going to share with you over 20 plus creative, DIY garden decor ideas that you can make using things you already have lying around your home. And I'm not talking about complicated projects that need special tools or expensive materials. I'm talking simple, practical, yet beautiful ideas that will turn your garden into a place of wonder without the need for a big budget. Whether you're a seasoned gardener or just starting out, these ideas are perfect for anyone who loves to roll up their sleeves and get a little creative. But here's the best part, you don't have to be an artist or DIY expert to get started. If you can hold a paintbrush or use a pair of scissors, you've already got the skills to make these ideas come to life. And trust me, when you see how easy it is to transform your space, you'll be amazed by what you can do. But wait, before we jump into the DIY fun, if you're new to this channel, or if you've been watching for a while but haven't hit that subscribe button yet, now's the perfect time to do it. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming up. We've got tons of fun gardening tips, tricks, and upcycling ideas lined up just for you. So hit the subscribe button, turn on those notifications, and join the Golden Seniors Living community. Trust me, you'll be so glad you did. Alright, let's get started with our first DIY project, the bike wheel flower rack. You've probably got an old bike wheel gathering dust somewhere, right? Instead of letting it go to waste, why not give it a fresh new purpose in your garden? This project is easy, fun, and adds such a cool, rustic charm to any outdoor space. All you need is an old bike wheel, some strong twine or string, a few hooks, and your favorite plants. You can paint the wheel to match your garden style or leave it as is for a more natural, weathered look. Start by cleaning your bike wheel and then tie some twine around the top. Hang it from a sturdy branch, post, or hook in your garden. The goal is to make it look like it's floating, creating a fun, elevated display for your plants. Next, attach some small hooks around the wheel. These are for hanging your potted plants. You can use small flowers, herbs, or even succulents, something lightweight that will cascade over the wheel for a soft, natural look. Now, just hang your plants from the hooks and let them do their thing. Over time, they'll grow and fill the wheel, creating a beautiful, living garden feature. Here's where you can get creative. Add some fairy lights for a magical glow, or even small garden ornaments to give it that personal touch. This is your garden, so make it as unique as you like. Now let's move on to a super simple yet charming DIY, turning an old wooden ladder into a garden shelf. This is a project that takes little effort but brings a lot of personality to your outdoor space. If you've got an old ladder lying around, this is your chance to repurpose it into a beautiful, rustic display. First, grab an old wooden ladder. If it's been sitting in your garage or shed collecting dust, this is its time to shine. If it's a bit worn out, that's actually perfect, it'll add to the rustic, weathered look. If the ladder is too tall, you can always trim it down to fit your space. Give the ladder a quick cleaning to remove dirt or debris. You can leave it natural for that rustic look, or, if you prefer, paint it in a color that complements your garden. A soft white or light pastel would blend nicely with most gardens. Now, it's time to set up the ladder. Place it against a wall or in a corner of your garden where you want to create a vertical display. Make sure it's stable. If you want it to stand on its own, you can secure the bottom with some stakes or bricks. Here's where the fun begins. Use the rungs of the ladder to hold your plants. You can stack a variety of potted plants, flowers, or even small gardening tools on each rung. I recommend using plants of different heights to create a cascading effect. Get creative. You can add small decorative items like fairy lights or garden figurines between the plants to make it even more charming. The best part is, you can keep changing the plants as the seasons shift, making it an ever-evolving feature in your garden. Not only is this project eco-friendly, but it's also a great way to maximize space in your garden. Plus, it's budget-friendly, no need to buy a fancy new shelf when you've got the perfect solution already at home. How about you? Have you ever used an old item like a ladder for something creative in your garden? Share your ideas in the comments below. I love hearing what you come up with. Next up, we're going to turn a broken flower pot into something magical. Instead of tossing the cracked pot, why not repurpose it into a fairy garden? This is such a fun and whimsical project that adds charm and personality to any garden, and the best part is it's super easy. Start by grabbing a broken flower pot. If you don't already have one, you can always break one yourself, just be careful. The more broken pieces, the more character it will add to your garden. Even a small crack can work wonders. Clean up any sharp edges carefully. You want to make sure it's safe to handle, especially if you'll be working with little hands or pets around. If the pot is still in good shape overall, just leave the cracks as they are. This adds to the charm of the fairy garden. Place a layer of small rocks or pebbles at the bottom of the pot for drainage. Then add some soil, just like you would for any other planter. But here's where it gets fun. This is your canvas for a little fairy magic. Now it's time to plant some mini plants. You can use tiny succulents, moss, or even small flowers. These will serve as the landscaping for your fairy garden. I like to use plants that spread out a bit. This creates a nice lush woodland feel. Here's the best part. Add tiny houses, miniature fairies, mushrooms, or any other little accessories you can find. You can make these yourself or pick up some cute miniatures from a craft store. Arrange them to look like a little fairy village inside your broken pot. Let's watch this transformation unfold. From a cracked, broken pot to a magical fairy garden, just look at how those little plants and tiny accessories come together to create something so charming. This project is not only a fantastic way to reuse a broken pot, but it also brings a whimsical, fun vibe to your garden. It's a great option for gardeners who love a bit of fantasy and enjoy personalizing their outdoor spaces. Plus, it's perfect for all skill levels, so anyone can make a fairy garden. Do you have a fairy garden or any miniature decor in your garden? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you've added a little magic to your space. If you're loving these creative ideas, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more fun projects. We've got so many more upcycled and DIY gardening ideas just waiting to bring your garden to life. Here's a simple and fun project. CD spinners. Those old, scratched CDs you've been hanging on to? Don't toss them. Let's turn them into colorful garden spinners. This DIY adds sparkle and movement to your garden with minimal effort. Start by collecting a few old CDs. They should be scratched up so you don't mind repurposing them. You'll also need some string or wire, a small dowel or stick, and if you want, a little paint for decoration. Clean off any dust and dirt, then get creative with painting. You can add a splash of color or some fun designs to the surface. But if you prefer the shiny, reflective look of the CD, you can leave it as is. Those little reflections will really catch the light. Use string or wire to hang the CD. You'll want to thread it through a small hole in the center of the CD or even punch one if needed. This allows the CD to spin freely when the wind blows, creating a nice, shimmering effect in your garden. Find a spot in your garden to hang the CD from a tree branch or a garden post. When the wind catches it, the CD will spin, catching the sunlight and creating a beautiful reflective effect. This is a great way to reuse old items that would otherwise be thrown away. Plus, it adds a fun, dynamic element to your garden. The spinning CDs also work as wind catchers, so they bring both beauty and movement to your space. Have you ever used old CDs for a DIY project before? I'd love to hear your ideas in the comments. What's the most creative way you've upcycled old items in your garden? Next up, let's turn those old tea tins into lovely planters for your garden. These are such a great way to add a rustic touch. And you probably already have a few tins lying around. Grab a couple of old tea tins, whether they're empty or just sitting in a drawer collecting dust. You'll also need some small plants like herbs or flowers and a little potting soil. If you want to add a little personality, pick up some paint and brushes. Start by cleaning out the tins. Once they're dry, it's time to paint them. You can keep it simple with a solid color or go for a fun design. Bright colors work well, especially in a garden setting, but you can also choose a rustic look for a more vintage feel. Be sure to add a few small holes in the bottom of the tin for drainage. You can easily do this with a nail or screwdriver. This will prevent the plants from sitting in water and getting root rot. Now, fill the tin with potting soil and plant your favorite flowers or herbs. Herbs like basil or thyme work wonderfully, but you can use anything you like. Just make sure it fits the size of the tin. Next up, let's transform old tires into a unique, multi-tiered planter for your garden. This is a fantastic way to reuse tires while adding some bold visual interest and practicality to your outdoor space. Start by collecting a few old tires. Size doesn't matter too much, but the more variety you have, the better. If you don't have any laying around, check with local garages or tire shops. They often give them away for free. Before stacking them, give each tire a good cleaning. Once they're dry, it's time to paint. You can use spray paint or outdoor paint to give them a fresh, vibrant look. I recommend going for bright colors to make your planter really pop, but feel free to match it to your garden's color scheme for a more subtle look. Now, stack your tires on top of each other, making sure they're secure. You can use 3 or 4 tires for a multi-tiered effect, and each level will give you space to plant different flowers, herbs, or even small vegetables. The height of the stack adds visual interest to your garden. Fill each tire with soil, packing it down gently. You can add a mix of flowers for color or use vegetables like lettuce or strawberries. The tiers make it easier to tend to your plants without bending over too much, which is perfect for seniors looking for a comfortable gardening experience. This project is not only a great way to upcycle tires, but it's also space efficient, making it perfect for small gardens. Plus, you can plant a variety of things in one area, saving you space while making your garden look amazing. Have you used old tires in your garden before, or is this something new to you? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas. Now, let's take a look at another easy but creative project, turning old window frames into a beautiful vertical garden. This project is perfect for adding a unique, rustic charm to your garden or patio. Start by finding an old window frame. You can find these at thrift stores, garage sales, or even in your own attic. The more vintage, the better. If the frame is glass, you'll want to remove it for safety and ease. Once you've got your frame, give it a good cleaning. If you want to add color to it, now's the time to paint. Choose a color that complements your garden, white for a shabby chic look or bold colors for a pop of fun. Next, attach small hooks to the top of the window frame. These hooks will hold your plants. You can attach more hooks along the bottom or on the sides for additional plants, turning this window frame into a functional, vertical garden. Hang your newly created picture frame garden on a fence, wall, or even on a stand in the middle of your garden. Make sure it's secure. The best part is you can switch out the plants depending on the season. Now, hang small pots of flowers, herbs, or succulents from the hooks. You can also add trailing plants like ivy or string of pearls for a cascading effect. This project is great for small spaces or vertical gardens. It's simple to make and gives new life to an old window frame. Plus, it's a fantastic way to display your favorite plants and flowers. Have you ever turned an old window frame into something new? Or maybe you've got some unique upcycling projects of your own. Share your ideas in the comments. I'd love to see what you've created. Next up, we've got a truly creative project, shovel handle coat rack. If you've got an old shovel lying around, why not repurpose it into a useful, rustic coat rack or tool hanger? This is one of those projects that combines functionality and style, perfect for your garden or even your entryway. Start by grabbing one or more old shovels, preferably with long handles. These can be shovels you don't use anymore or ones that are too worn out for digging. The longer the handle, the more hooks you'll have. Give the shovels a good cleanup and, if you want, paint them for a fresh look. You can leave them rustic for a vintage garden vibe or paint them bright colors for a fun twist. Now, attach the handles to a sturdy wall. You can either hang the shovels horizontally or vertically. If you want more hooks, just hang them at different heights for an eclectic, functional display. Now the fun part. You can use the shovel handles to hang garden tools, coats, or even hats. It's a great way to keep everything organized while adding a quirky touch to your space. This is a fantastic way to reuse tools and keep your garden tools organized and within easy reach. It's also a fun, personalized project that shows off your creative side. Do you have any old garden tools you could upcycle? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm sure you've got some cool ideas to add to this. Now that we've made a tool rack, let's add a little flair to your garden's borders with a fun, quirky project. Let's talk about using old spoons to create a decorative garden fence. Next, let's get even more creative with something you probably wouldn't think of: recycled spoons. If you've got a collection of mismatched spoons or old silverware, this project will give them new life as a quirky, shiny garden fence. Start by collecting old spoons. These can be mismatched ones from your kitchen drawer or even some that are damaged or worn. You'll need quite a few depending on how long you want your fence to be. Drill small holes into the handles of the spoons, just big enough to thread wire or string through. This will allow you to link them together to form a continuous fence. Once you've drilled the holes, start threading the spoons together using wire, string, or even twine. You can decide how close together you want the spoons to be. The more tightly packed, the more solid your fence will look, but if you want it to have a lighter, airier feel, leave a bit more space between them. Once you've strung your spoons together, it's time to set up your fence. You can attach the ends of the wire to posts or simply stake it into the ground. This is perfect for adding a unique touch to flower beds, vegetable gardens, or even as a border for your lawn. This project is a great way to recycle old silverware and bring a little glimmer to your garden. The reflective surface of the spoons catches the light, creating a dynamic and eye-catching effect as you walk by. Plus, it's super affordable. Have you ever used spoons for a project like this before? Or maybe you've got your own ideas for upcycling silverware. Share your thoughts in the comments below. I can't wait to hear your creative ideas. Now, let's take those broken mirror pieces you might have lying around and turn them into a stunning mosaic for your garden. This project will add a bit of sparkle and elegance to your outdoor space, and it's a great way to upcycle something that would normally be tossed out. First, collect any broken mirrors you have. Don't worry about sharp edges just yet. Those can be smoothed down later. If you don't have any broken mirrors, you can find inexpensive mirrors at thrift stores or garage sales. Once you've gathered the shards, carefully sand down any sharp edges with sandpaper to make them safe to handle. You want to keep the reflective surfaces, so don't sand off the shine, just smooth out the rough spots. Now, think about the shape or pattern you want to create. You can go for a geometric design or something more natural like a flower. Lay the pieces out on the ground first to get an idea of how they'll fit together. Once you're happy with the layout, start gluing the mirror shards onto a backing. You can use a sturdy board, old wooden board, or even a large flat rock. Use a strong adhesive like construction glue to secure the pieces in place. This mosaic adds a touch of elegance and shine to your garden. The reflective pieces catch the sunlight, creating beautiful light patterns throughout the day. Plus, it's a fantastic way to recycle mirrors and give them new life in a creative way. Have you ever used broken glass or mirrors in your garden? Let me know your ideas for other reflective garden art in the comments below. Now that we've added some sparkle to our garden, let's move on to something a little more rustic, turning an old ladder into a beautiful planter stand. Next, we've got a charming, rustic project for your garden, turning an old wooden ladder into a plant display stand. This is a quick and easy way to repurpose something you might already have lying around, and it adds so much character to your outdoor space. Look around for an old wooden ladder that's no longer in use. It doesn't matter if it's a little worn or weathered, those imperfections will add to the rustic charm. Give the ladder a good cleaning. You can leave it in its natural state, or if you want a fresh look, give it a coat of paint or wood stain. White or pastel colors look beautiful in gardens, but you can choose any to create a nice, cascading display. Now, use the rungs of the ladder to hold your potted plants. You can stack small flower pots or use larger planters, depending on the space. This setup works wonderfully with trailing plants, like ivy or ferns, but you can use any plants that suit your style. This is a great way to make the most of vertical space in a small garden. It's an easy-to-make, low-cost project that adds instant charm to your garden. Plus, you can change out the plants depending on the season. Do you have an old ladder sitting around? How would you use it in your garden? Share your ideas in the comments. I'd love to see how you'd style your ladder garden. Here's a fun project that's perfect for wine lovers, wine cork garden edging. If you have a collection of old wine corks, why not upcycle them into a beautiful and eco-friendly garden border? Start by gathering wine corks. You'll need a decent amount depending on how long you want your garden edging to be. If you don't have enough, you can always ask friends or check out local wine shops. Once you've got enough corks, clean them up a bit. If you want, you can even stain them for a more polished look, but you can also leave them natural for that rustic feel. Now, take a strong adhesive like hot glue or construction glue and begin gluing the corks together. You can lay them horizontally or vertically, depending on your preferred look. You might want to create a continuous row or stagger them for a more interesting effect. Once the corks are glued and set, install the edging along the edge of your garden. You can simply bury the base of the corks in the soil to keep them in place. The best part is you've created a unique and eco-friendly border that adds character to your garden. This project is perfect for recycling old corks, and it's an affordable way to add some personality to your garden. Plus, it's a great conversation starter. Do you have a collection of corks at home? What else could you repurpose them for? Share your ideas in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Now that we've added a unique edge to your garden, let's move on to something that really stands out: an old bike frame turned into a garden trellis. Next, we're going to turn an old bike frame into a stunning garden trellis. This project is perfect for adding a bit of whimsy and rustic charm to your garden while giving climbing plants a new home. Start by finding an old bike frame. If you don't have one lying around, check your local thrift store or ask friends or family. You'll want a frame that's still in decent shape but doesn't need to be a perfect ride. Now, this is where you can get creative. Use the bike frame as a base and bend it into the shape you want for your trellis. You can keep it simple with an arch or add a few extra bends for a more intricate design. Once you've got your bike frame shaped, secure it in the ground where you want your climbing plants to grow. Make sure it's sturdy by using stakes or poles to support the frame if needed. Now, the fun part. Plant your climbing plants, like roses, ivy, or beans, at the base of the frame. As they grow, they'll naturally climb the bike frame, creating a gorgeous, rustic trellis that adds both beauty and functionality to your garden. This is a great way to recycle an old bike frame while giving your plants a creative structure to grow on. It's perfect for small spaces where you need vertical gardening solutions. Have you ever thought of using old furniture or bikes in your garden? Let me know your ideas for repurposing in the comments. Now that we've got a functional and artistic trellis, let's move on to a rustic water feature. How about turning an old tree stump into a beautiful fountain? Next up, we're going to take an old tree stump and turn it into a fountain. If you've got a stump in your yard, this project will give it a whole new life while adding a peaceful, rustic water feature to your garden. Start with a tree stump, ideally one that's already been cut down. If you don't have one, check with local tree removal services or ask neighbors who might have had a tree removed. Use a drill or chisel to hollow out the top of the stump, creating a space for the water to pool. The depth will depend on how large your water pump is, so make sure it's deep enough to hold the pump and some water. Next, place a small water pump inside the hollowed-out stump. Make sure the pump's tubing can reach the top of the stump so the water will flow out beautifully. Once the pump is in place, fill the stump with water and plug the pump in. You can hide the pump's cord by burying it under the stump or covering it with rocks or moss. This project not only gives new life to a tree stump but also adds a lovely, natural water feature to your garden. The rustic look of the stump blends beautifully with the flowing water, making it a serene focal point. Have you ever tried adding a water feature to your garden? What other upcycled materials would you like to use for a fountain? Share your thoughts in the comments. Next, we're going to make a wooden crate garden table, a simple, functional, and stylish way to upcycle old crates into a beautiful piece for your garden. This table is not only practical but also adds a rustic touch to your outdoor space. Start by collecting a few old wooden crates. You can find these at thrift stores, farmers markets, or even online. If the crates are a bit rough, no worries, they'll add to the rustic charm. Stack the crates on top of each other to create the base of your table. You can use 3 or 4 crates, depending on the height and design you prefer. Secure them together with screws or strong adhesive to make sure they're sturdy. If you want to add a smooth surface, you can place a glass top on the crates. Measure the top to fit the dimensions of your stack and simply place it on top. This will create a functional surface for drinks, plants, or whatever else you need. Now, personalize your table by adding small potted plants, candles, or even decorative stones. You could also paint the crates in a color that matches your garden style or leave them natural for a rustic feel. This project is a great way to reuse old crates, and it's a budget-friendly way to create a unique garden table. You can customize it with your favorite colors, plants, and accessories. Have you ever used crates for a DIY project? Share your ideas in the comments. I'd love to hear how you've personalized your garden. Now that we've made a table, let's move on to a creative way to repurpose old furniture, a chair planter. Here's a fun and unique project, an upcycled chair planter. If you've got an old wooden chair lying around, this is a fantastic way to give it a new life and add some charm to your garden. Start by finding an old wooden chair. It doesn't matter if it's worn out or no longer usable for sitting. The more vintage, the better for that rustic charm. Next, use a saw or a tool to carefully remove the seat from the chair. You want to create a hole where you can place a pot, so make sure you've cut it out just enough to fit your flower pot inside. Now, simply place a flower pot inside the chair's seat area. If the pot is too small, you can add some padding or stones around the edges to keep it secure. Fill the pot with soil and plant your favorite flowers or herbs. To make it even more special, you can paint the chair or add some decorative accents like ribbons or fairy lights. The seatless chair becomes a unique, functional piece of garden decor. This project is perfect for adding some whimsy to your garden. It's an easy way to upcycle old furniture, and it provides a charming focal point for your outdoor space. Have you ever turned an old piece of furniture into a garden planter? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to see how you've upcycled your old chairs or furniture. Now that we've added a chair planter to your garden, let's create a fun, musical feature with broken pot wind chimes. Next up, let's get a little musical with some broken pot wind chimes. This is such a creative way to repurpose broken pots and add a little sound to your garden. Start by collecting any broken flower pots you have. If you don't have any, you can always break a pot yourself, just be careful. The more pieces, the more layers your wind chime will have. Clean the broken pieces to remove any dirt and then carefully sand down the sharp edges to avoid injury. Next, thread some strong string or twine through the pieces and tie them together to form your wind chime. You can use different lengths of string for each piece to create a cascading effect. To add a little extra jingle, you can string some beads or small stones between the pot pieces. These will create an extra sound as they hit the pots in the wind. This project is a great way to reuse broken pots while adding a beautiful, musical element to your garden. The wind chimes will create relaxing sounds as the breeze flows through your garden. Have you ever made a wind chime before? I'd love to hear about your favorite DIY garden projects in the comments. Let's get crafty with some old t-shirts. If you have any old shirts that you don't wear anymore, you can turn them into eco-friendly plant hangers. This simple project is not only a great way to reuse fabric, but it also gives your plants a charming hanging home. Start by finding an old t-shirt, preferably one that's soft and has a bit of stretch. You'll need to cut it into strips so it doesn't matter if it's a bit worn out. Cut the t-shirt into strips about 1 to 2 inches wide. You can make them longer if you want a longer hanger for your plants. Now, take 3 strips and tie a knot at the top. Start braiding or knotting the strips together and continue down to your desired length. This will create the macrame pattern for your plant hanger. Once the hanger is complete, attach it to a sturdy hook or a branch and place your plant pot in the center of the knot. You've just created a unique, colorful plant hanger from an old shirt. This project is not only a fantastic way to reuse old fabric, but it also gives your plants a lovely, boho look. Plus, it's an easy way to create vertical garden space for small plants. Do you have old t-shirts lying around? What other creative uses could you find for them in your garden? Share your ideas in the comments below. Now that we've got a fun way to hang plants, let's add some color to your garden with painted rock garden markers. Here's a project that's both fun and practical: painted rock garden markers. If you have old rocks lying around, this is a simple way to bring color and personality to your garden while keeping track of your plants. Start by collecting some smooth, flat rocks. You can find these in your backyard or at a local park. The size doesn't matter too much, but flat rocks are easier to paint and label. Once you have your rocks, give them a quick rinse and let them dry. Then, grab your paints and brushes. You can paint them any color you like, bright colors or subtle tones. If you want to get fancy, add some designs like flowers, patterns, or even little faces. Now use a permanent marker or paint to label the rocks with the names of your plants. You can add a fun touch by drawing pictures of the plant next to its name or simply write it out clearly. Once the paint has dried, place your painted rocks at the base of your plants. They'll not only help you keep track of what's growing, but they'll also add a touch of whimsy to your garden. This is an easy and fun way to add some flair to your garden while also staying organized. Plus, it's a great project to involve kids or grandkids in. Have you ever painted rocks for your garden? What other designs would you use for your garden markers? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your ideas. Now that we've got some fun markers, let's move on to a more rustic project, turning an old suitcase into a charming flower bed. Next, we're going to take an old suitcase and turn it into a charming flower bed. This upcycling project adds a whimsical touch to your garden while giving new life to something you might have lying around. Start by finding a vintage suitcase. These are usually easy to find at thrift stores, garage sales, or even your attic. Look for one that's in good condition and big enough to hold a few plants. To make sure your plants don't get waterlogged, drill a few small holes in the bottom of the suitcase for drainage. This is key to keeping your plants healthy and happy. Now, fill the suitcase with potting soil, leaving about an inch from the top. Plant your favorite flowers or herbs inside. If you want a more colorful effect, try mixing different flowers for a vibrant display. Place your new flower bed in a sunny spot in your garden. The suitcase gives your plants a cozy, unique home, and it makes a fantastic centerpiece for your garden. We've come to the end of this creative, upcycled garden adventure. But before you head off to your own garden, I have a special challenge for you. Are you ready? Here's your challenge. Take a picture of your favorite upcycled garden item, whether it's a plant hanger made from an old t-shirt, a colorful wine cork border, or a whimsical suitcase flower bed. Tag us on social media and use the hashtag Golden Seniors Gardens. I'll be sharing some of your wonderful creations in upcoming videos, so let's spread the creativity and inspire others to get started with their own upcycling projects. Before we wrap up, if you've enjoyed these ideas and want even more fun gardening tips and upcycling inspiration, hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. I'm committed to bringing you fresh, easy-to-follow ideas, and your support helps me continue to do that. I promise there's so much more coming your way.